How many times have you told yourself, "I'll be fine," while silently falling apart inside? How many times have you smiled in front of others, just to hide the pain that no one saw, no one understood, and no one cared to ask about? There's a certain kind of suffering that doesn't scream. It stays quiet, buried under responsibilities, expectations, and broken trust. It's the kind that builds over time, until one day, you feel like you've lost yourself completely. Like something inside you has shattered, and you don't even know where to begin picking up the pieces. You've been hurt, not once, not twice, but more times than you care to count. Hurt by people you trusted. Hurt by those you gave everything to. Hurt by your own silence when you should have screamed. And somewhere along the way, that hurt became a part of you. You carried it like a shadow, always present, always pulling you backward. But you never deserved that pain. You never deserved to feel small, unseen, or unworthy of love and peace. And here's the truth no one told you. The moment you start to believe that this pain is just your fate, you begin to live in chains that were never yours to wear. This isn't the life you were born to live. You weren't put here to constantly survive emotional wounds. You weren't built to keep sacrificing your joy just to keep people who drain you. You are not here to be walked over, taken for granted, or used as a place for others to dump their misery. But somewhere along the way, your heart got tired. Tired of hoping, tired of forgiving, tired of pretending. And now, you've reached a point where something inside you is screaming, "No more." That voice, that fire, that's your power returning, and you must hold on to it. Because the moment you decide that enough is enough, everything changes. You don't need to keep hurting. You don't have to carry the past. You don't owe anyone your silence, your loyalty, or your peace, not if it comes at the cost of your own soul. Right now, in this very moment, you get to decide that you will never again allow yourself to be a victim of someone else's chaos. That nobody and nothing will ever hold that kind of power over your emotions again. Because when you finally see your own worth, truly see it, something unshakable rises inside you. A strength that doesn't flinch, a peace that doesn't break, a fire that doesn't burn out. And once that begins, you become untouchable. Not because the world changes, but because you do watch till the end. And you'll understand what it means to walk through life protected, strong, and free. Because this time, the pain ends with you, and the power begins within you. The real damage doesn't come from what happened to you. It comes from what you started to believe because of it. When people left, when they lied, when they broke what you gave so freely, you didn't just feel pain. You formed conclusions. You started to think you weren't enough. That maybe you deserved it. That if you were just quieter, more pleasing, less emotional, more forgiving, more perfect, maybe they would have stayed. Maybe they would have treated you better. That is the silent trap. Not the pain itself, but the story your mind wrote around it. A story that told you to settle, to shrink, to expect less. A story that convinced you that hurt is normal and healing is optional. But healing is not optional, it's urgent. Because the longer you carry someone else's damage as your identity, the more you delay the life that was meant for you. You weren't born to be a sponge for other people's dysfunction. You weren't created to be a dumping ground for someone else's wounds. You were never meant to believe that love comes with pain, that connection comes with betrayal, or that survival is the best you can hope for. You were made for more, so much more. And you can feel it. Deep down, something inside you knows this isn't where your story ends. Something inside you whispers that the version of you before the hurt still exists. Maybe buried, maybe quiet, but not gone. That part of you, the one who still dreams, who still believes, who still wants to feel safe and alive and whole, is still in there. And that version of you is waiting for your permission to rise again. It starts when you stop confusing pain with love, when you stop trying to prove your worth to people who are committed to misunderstanding you, when you stop entertaining the voices, both inside and outside, that tell you to settle for crumbs. You were not created to live small, walk on eggshells, or constantly justify your feelings. Your emotions are not too much. Your standards are not too high. Your needs are not a burden. You are allowed to ask for peace. You are allowed to protect your space. You are allowed to walk away from anything that makes your soul feel heavy. Because here's the truth. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not too sensitive. What you are is aware of the damage, aware of the patterns, aware of the need to stop them before they become permanent. And that awareness is power. That awareness is where everything begins to change. You don't have to carry the pain forward. You don't have to keep building your life on top of wounds. You can stop. You can choose something different. And once you do, nobody and nothing will ever define your worth again. They convinced you to silence your pain so they wouldn't feel uncomfortable. They taught you to hide your needs, to smile through betrayal, to forgive without boundaries, and to keep giving even when you were empty. But that wasn't kindness, it was self-abandonment. You were conditioned to believe that being good meant being quiet, that being strong meant carrying what was never yours to hold, that being loving meant tolerating disrespect, and slowly, without even realizing it, you stopped showing up for yourself. You let your own voice go unheard just to keep the peace that was never real to begin with. But you can't keep bleeding to make others comfortable. You can't keep playing small and calling it love. There comes a time when your silence becomes a betrayal to your soul, when your constant giving becomes a form of self-harm, when your tolerance turns into your prison. And that time is now. You don't owe anyone access to the parts of you they've proven they can't protect. You don't need to explain your healing. You don't need permission to set yourself free. You've already paid the price for staying silent. You've already carried the weight of pretending to be okay. Now it's time to return to yourself. This is where you stop apologizing for growing. This is where you choose your well-being over someone else's comfort. Where you stop abandoning your peace to accommodate someone else's chaos. You can be kind and still have limits. You can be compassionate and still protect your space. You are not here to save everyone. You are not responsible for fixing what others refuse to acknowledge. You are here to rise, to rebuild, to reclaim everything they tried to take from you, your joy, your strength, your voice. They may have taught you to doubt yourself, but you were never the problem. They may have tried to control you through guilt, but you are no longer that version of yourself. The one who begged for love, the one who tolerated the bare minimum, the one who stayed quiet just to be accepted. That version of you was surviving, but you are done surviving. You are ready to thrive, ready to rise from everything that was meant to destroy you, ready to become untouchable, not by building walls, but by knowing your worth so deeply that nothing can shake it. Because when you know who you are, you stop explaining it to people who were never listening. You stop negotiating with energy that drains you. You stop seeking love in places that only offer pain. You become the protector of your peace, the guardian of your own soul. And from that place of power, you become unbreakable. They don't get to hurt you again. Not because they've changed, but because you have, because this time you choose you. This time, the silence ends, and the healing begins. They didn't break you because you were weak. They broke you because you kept showing up with love when all they brought was damage. They underestimated you because they mistook your patience for powerlessness, your forgiveness for permission. But they were wrong. What they didn't see, what they still can't understand, is that your strength was never in how much you could endure. It was always in how much you could rise without turning cold. And now, that strength is awakening fully, not as a reaction, but as a decision. The decision to never again allow someone else's chaos to dismantle your peace. You've spent too long adjusting yourself for people who refuse to meet you where you are. You've bent, twisted, suppressed, and reshaped your truth just to be accepted by those who never planned to respect you. That chapter is over. You no longer need to shrink to keep a seat at tables built on conditions. You no longer need to beg for clarity, fight for attention, or prove your worth through exhaustion. If they couldn't see your value when you were breaking yourself just to stay, they're not meant to witness you now that you're whole. You are not obligated to keep suffering just because you once survived with them. You don't owe anyone your energy when they've shown you their presence only brings confusion, tension, or fear. It's not cruelty to walk away. It's clarity, it's power, it's self-respect. You were taught to believe that boundaries are selfish, that distance is cold, that choosing yourself is wrong. But that was a lie told by people who benefited from your lack of protection. The truth is this: boundaries are how you teach the world what your soul will no longer tolerate. And nothing is more powerful than knowing where you end and where someone else's damage begins. When you stop engaging with what wounds you, you stop feeding it. You stop giving it a place to live. And in that silence, in that sacred separation, something beautiful happens. You start to hear yourself again. You start to feel your own heartbeat. You remember who you were before you let pain become your compass, before you let fear become your guide, before you made it your job to keep peace with those who only brought war. This is not about becoming bitter. This is about becoming better, not for them, for you, so you can breathe again without waiting for the next blow, so you can love without fearing loss, so you can walk into rooms without carrying the weight of unspoken wounds. You didn't come this far to keep dancing with pain. You didn't survive to keep replaying the same cycles. You are here to rise, fully, unapologetically, and permanently. And the moment you stop negotiating with pain is the moment you finally reclaim your freedom. No one gets to hurt you again, because now, you've remembered who you are, and that changes everything. The greatest shift happens when you realize the real battle was never outside of you. It wasn't about changing them. It wasn't about proving your worth or earning their love. The war was internal, from the beginning. It was the fight between the voice that told you to stay silent and the voice that begged you to rise, between the conditioned self that tolerated pain and the higher self that knew you deserved peace. That's the truth that changes everything. You don't need to defeat them. You need to defeat the version of you that let them in. It's not about revenge. It's not about getting even. It's about getting free. Free from the stories that kept you small. Free from the emotional habits that kept you chained to familiar suffering. Free from believing that you must earn rest, love, or safety. You never had to beg for what you were always worthy of. But healing is not passive. It doesn't come from time. It comes from truth, from meeting yourself in the mirror and refusing to lie to yourself one more day. No more pretending you're okay with things you're not. No more brushing off disrespect. No more downplaying your pain just to seem strong. The strongest thing you will ever do is choose yourself. Not out of ego, but out of deep sacred necessity. Because no one else can save you from the damage they caused. No one else can walk into your mind and remove the weight you've been carrying. That's your job now. Not because you deserve the hurt, but because you deserve the healing. You've waited long enough for someone to apologize, for someone to understand, for someone to finally show up and make it right. But now, you're done waiting. You're done handing your power to people who never earned it. This is where your identity shifts, from wounded to wise, from reactive to rooted, from broken to unshakable. And when that shift happens, something inside you becomes solid, untouchable, not numb, not disconnected, but deeply grounded in truth. You no longer need to argue. You no longer need to chase. You no longer need to prove. You simply know. You know what your soul needs. You know what your peace is worth. And you know that anything that threatens it, no matter how familiar, is no longer welcome. That's when the pain stops having power. Not because it didn't happen, but because it no longer defines you. Not because you forget, but because you've risen above it. You become dangerous, not to others, but to everything that once fed on your self-doubt. Because now, you see clearly, you see the patterns, you see the traps, you see the lies. And once you see, you can't unsee. You can't go back to sleep. You can't go back to breaking yourself for people who benefit from your silence. This time, you speak. This time, you stand. This time, you stay whole. And nothing will ever break you again. They only had power because you didn't know yours. They only got close because you didn't yet believe you had the right to protect your space. But that part of you, the one that tolerated the disrespect, absorbed the blame, stayed too long, is gone now. That version of you was operating on survival, not self-worth. You did what you had to do to make it through. But this isn't survival anymore. This is the rise. This is the moment you step into ownership of your life, unapologetically, powerfully, fully awake. And when you do, everything changes. Not because they stop trying, but because you stop perceiving. The reason people keep hurting you isn't because they're stronger. It's because they sense the open door. They know you've been too forgiving, too hopeful, too emotionally available to those who've never earned access. But that changes when you stop entertaining what weakens you. It changes the moment you realize that peace is not something to wish for, it's something to enforce. You are the gatekeeper now, and you don't need to defend it with anger. You protect it by not responding, by not engaging, by not explaining your boundaries to those who were never meant to cross them in the first place. They taught you to feel guilty for choosing yourself. They called you selfish when you stopped making your suffering convenient for them. But guilt is not proof of wrongness. It's a sign that you're interrupting a pattern, one that never served you. And interruption feels uncomfortable, but you were not born to keep others comfortable while you drown. The weight you've carried trying to keep everyone else okay has cost you too much, your energy, your clarity, your confidence. It's time to take it all back. You are no longer available for energy that drains you. You are no longer interested in one-sided loyalty, in emotional confusion, in relationships that demand you dim your light. There is no more room in your life for people who only come to take, and you don't need to explain your decision to rise. Your peace is your proof. Your boundaries are your protection. Your silence is your strength. Not everyone deserves access to your healing. Not everyone is safe enough to witness your growth. The more you respect your own space, the more others will. The more you protect your heart, the more it will give you clarity. The more you stop chasing closure and start giving yourself answers, the more powerful you become. You no longer need someone else's permission to be whole. You've already survived what was meant to break you. Now you build what was always yours to claim, your emotional freedom. And once you taste that kind of peace, you'll never settle for chaos again. You'll never ignore red flags to keep something familiar. You'll never betray yourself to belong. Because now, you don't just know your worth, you own it. And when you own it, nobody and nothing can ever hurt you again. You were never asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong people, people who lacked the emotional capacity to give what you were more than willing to offer. People who mistook your openness for weakness, people who saw your softness and decided to test its limits. But you've learned now. You've learned that not everyone who enters your life deserves a seat in your heart. You've learned that your worth doesn't need to be proven, only protected. And that realization is what makes you untouchable, not because pain disappears, but because your response to it transforms. The strongest protection isn't anger, it's clarity. When you see people for who they are instead of who you want them to be, everything changes. When you stop romanticizing potential and start honoring behavior, your standards rise. When you stop begging for love and start choosing peace, your life becomes lighter. The things that once triggered you now teach you. The situations that once broke you now reveal your growth. That's what power looks like. Quiet, steady, unshakable. Not loud or defensive, just clear. Clear on who you are, clear on what you allow, clear on what you will never again tolerate. You don't rise by becoming harder. You rise by becoming wiser. Wiser about your energy, wiser about your patterns, wiser about who and what you give your time to. There is no reward in staying in spaces that drain you. There is no strength in repeating cycles that wound you. Growth is not just about what you're healing from, it's about what you're no longer returning to. And you don't need to announce that growth. Let your peace speak. Let your energy shift. Let your silence become your closure. The more you value your inner world, the less you chase anything external. You no longer need validation to feel worthy. You no longer seek understanding from those committed to misunderstanding you. You no longer try to convince anyone of your truth. You simply live it, you breathe it, you become it. And in doing so, you start to feel a power that no one can take from you. A calm strength that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. You stop reacting and start choosing. You stop tolerating and start commanding. You stop being accessible to pain that once felt familiar. This is how you become unreachable to what once broke you. Not by building walls, but by elevating your standards. Not by closing your heart, but by opening your eyes. You are no longer in the business of fixing people who refuse to fix themselves. You are no longer sacrificing your well-being to keep relationships that only survive through your self-abandonment. You are walking forward now, clear, grounded, and whole. And once you decide to honor your healing above everything else, you become immune to anything that tries to drag you back into who you used to be. From this moment on, that version of you is gone. And the new you, untouchable, unshaken, free. When you finally stop giving unlimited access to limited people, your entire world changes. You begin to realize that peace isn't found in their approval. It's found in your refusal to keep breaking yourself just to feel accepted. You no longer entertain confusion disguised as love. You no longer attach your value to how well you can endure pain. You no longer try to convince people to treat you right, because now you know, the ones who truly see your worth never need to be convinced. They just show up right. But this transformation isn't about them, it's about you. It's about the decision to stop living in emotional poverty when abundance has always been within your reach. They conditioned you to feel guilty for choosing yourself, to second-guess your instincts, to over-explain your decisions. But you've outgrown those roles. You've outgrown being the emotional caretaker in toxic dynamics. You've outgrown shrinking your truth so someone else can feel powerful. You've outgrown the need to make everyone comfortable at the cost of your own sanity. There is nothing selfish about healing. There is nothing wrong with protecting your space. There is nothing weak about refusing to absorb energy that was never yours to carry. You don't rise by pleasing. You rise by remembering. Remembering who you were before they made you forget. Before you lowered your standards just to feel loved. Before you accepted chaos and called it connection. You rise by reclaiming the version of you that knew how to say no without guilt. That knew how to walk away without begging. That knew how to choose peace over approval. That version of you is still there, buried under the layers of fear, shame, and survival. And now, it's time to bring them back to life. You no longer owe explanations for your healing. You owe yourself the truth that you deserve peace without negotiation, the truth that you are allowed to be whole without performing, the truth that your worth was never tied to how much pain you could carry. Healing isn't a destination. It's a boundary, a new standard, a quiet refusal to keep living in cycles that drain you. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's intentional. Every time you say no to something that once kept you stuck, you are healing. Every time you choose rest over overthinking, you are healing. Every time you walk away without resentment, you are healing. And with every step you become lighter, stronger, clearer. You don't have to announce your growth to prove it. Your energy will speak louder than your words. You'll stop reacting to things that once owned your mind. You'll stop chasing people who don't respect your presence. You'll stop settling for halfway love. Because now, you see the difference between what you're offered and what you deserve. And you'll never again pretend they're the same. You are no longer available for what hurts, no longer tolerating what wounds, no longer shrinking to be seen. From now on, you expand, you protect, you rise, and nothing will ever bring you back down. You don't need closure when you have clarity. You don't need their apology to set yourself free. You don't need them to understand your pain in order for you to heal from it. Waiting for someone else to give you peace is how you stay trapped. Hoping they'll one day acknowledge the damage is how you keep reliving it. But the truth is, freedom doesn't begin when they change. It begins when you stop expecting them to. The moment you stop seeking healing from the same place that hurt you is the moment you reclaim all the power you once gave away. Your healing cannot depend on their awareness. Some people will never admit what they did. Some will twist the truth, minimize your pain, or rewrite the story to protect their own ego. Let them. Let them carry the weight of their own denial. That weight is not yours anymore. You are not here to wait for accountability from those who hide behind pride. You are not here to be understood by people who refuse to see you when it mattered. Your job is not to fix the brokenness in others. Your job is to remove what breaks you and rise. There is nothing more powerful than choosing to close the chapter on your own. Not with bitterness, not with rage, but with peace. Quiet, steady peace that says, I'm done trying to get you to care. I'm done trying to explain why I'm not okay. I'm done reopening wounds to chase validation. Because I don't need it anymore. I don't need your words. I have my truth. I don't need your presence. I have my strength. I don't need your permission. I have my freedom. You cannot keep holding doors open for people who only walk in to take. You cannot keep giving your time, your energy, your heart to those who see your love as a convenience. That ends now, not out of anger, out of alignment. You've outgrown spaces that require you to betray yourself. You've evolved past connections that drain your spirit. You no longer resonate with anything that asks you to shrink, settle, or suffer in silence. Your energy is sacred. Your peace is sacred, and not everyone is meant to have access to it. When you finally understand that closure is not something they give, it's something you choose, you take your life back. You stop waiting. You stop hoping. You stop hurting over people who never truly saw you. You look in the mirror and you make a decision. I forgive, not because you asked. I release, not because you deserve it. I move on, not because I'm over it, but because I'm choosing me now. Every step forward is a declaration, a boundary, a new standard. And this time, it's not up for negotiation. You don't need to go back to explain anything. You don't need to stay to prove anything. You've already proven enough. You've already carried too much. Now, you let go, fully, completely, finally. Letting go doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're finally strong enough to stop carrying what was never yours to hold, strong enough to stop watering dead roots, strong enough to stop chasing what only breaks you. You are no longer interested in proving your worth through suffering. You've done that. You've played the role of the loyal one, the forgiving one, the one who held everything together while falling apart inside. And now, the act is over. Because the one person you kept abandoning to keep others comfortable was yourself. That stops today. You don't rise by holding on. You rise by releasing. You rise by facing the truth you've been avoiding. That the pain you feel isn't just from what happened, but from how long you've tried to pretend it didn't affect you, from how long you've smiled through silence, stayed when you should have left, forgave when you needed to walk away. And now, you finally see that healing doesn't happen by ignoring the wound. It happens by removing what keeps reopening it. You cannot rebuild your life while standing in the rubble of something that keeps collapsing. You must step away, not because you hate them, but because you love yourself. This is the power of detachment, of looking at what once consumed your thoughts and realizing it no longer moves you, of standing in front of what once triggered your insecurities and knowing you're no longer available for that version of pain. That's growth, not the kind that's loud or dramatic, but the kind that's unshakable, quiet, clear, fully embodied, the kind of growth that can't be faked. It shows in your energy, in your decisions, in what you now refuse to tolerate. You've stopped explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You've stopped lowering your standards just to feel loved. You've stopped confusing attention with care. And in that shift, you've discovered something unbreakable within yourself, a peace that no one else gave you, a strength that no one else built, a truth that no one else can take away. That's who you really are. Not the broken version they saw, not the confused version you used to be, but the powerful version that rose from all of it. Silent, resilient, unapologetically clear. You no longer check your worth through their reactions. You no longer measure your value by how well you're received. You are no longer a mirror for someone else's projections. You are the reflection of everything they failed to see. You are no longer desperate to hold on. You are devoted to letting go. And every time you release what once broke you, you return to yourself. Whole, unshaken, unreachable. Because true strength isn't loud, it's the quiet decision to never again give someone the power to harm what they never helped heal. That's the energy you carry now, calm, clear, close to the past, open to the life you were always meant to live. And this time, nothing will pull you back. Peace is not found in perfection, it's found in presence. In the quiet moments when you realize you no longer need to chase anything, or prove anything to feel worthy. You've spent too long believing that your value depended on how much you achieved, how flawlessly you performed, how well you fit into other people's expectations. But real confidence isn't loud. It doesn't beg for validation. It's the silent knowing that you're enough, even when no one is clapping. Even when no one sees the battles you fight behind closed doors. You finally reach the place where your worth is not up for negotiation. Not with anyone, not even with your own doubt. Because now, you've stepped out of survival mode. The part of you that kept performing, pleasing, perfecting, just to be accepted, that part is tired, and it should be. It was never your job to carry the weight of everyone's comfort on your shoulders. You weren't born to shrink. You weren't born to silence yourself to keep the peace. You were born to take up space, to speak your truth, and to stop abandoning yourself just to be chosen. You are already chosen. By life, by breath, by the fact that you're still here, even after everything tried to break you. That's not weakness. That's evidence of something powerful in you, something sacred, the kind of strength that doesn't always look like pushing harder. It looks like finally releasing what was never meant to stay, like resting without guilt, like saying no without explaining, like walking away without regret. That's real power. It's not in how loud you fight, it's in how gracefully you rise, how calmly you protect your peace, how fearlessly you choose yourself when everything around you tries to make you forget who you are. You're not who you were last year. You're not even who you were yesterday. Every moment you choose growth over comfort, truth over illusion, healing over hiding. You evolve. You become someone who no longer needs the world to agree before you decide to believe in yourself. You become someone who no longer waits for permission to live fully. You stop asking, what if I'm not enough? And start asking, what if I am? And from that question, a new chapter begins. One not built on fear but on clarity. One that doesn't seek approval but honors alignment. This is the life you've been fighting for. Not just a life that looks good on the outside, but one that feels real on the inside. One where your peace is protected, your energy is sacred, and your future is built on truth, not pressure. You owe that to yourself now. To live like you deserve to be here. To show up as if you belong, because you do. And as you continue to rise, grounded in purpose, fueled by self-respect, there's no need to chase anything. You've already become everything you thought you had to find outside. You are it, fully, completely, undeniably. You are not lost. You are being recalibrated. The discomfort you feel isn't punishment, it's realignment. It's life rearranging itself to match the version of you that's finally ready to stop pretending, stop settling, and stop waiting for someday. The old patterns that once kept you safe are now the very chains holding you back. And you've begun to see it. You've started to notice that staying small doesn't protect you, it poisons you. Every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you silence your truth to avoid tension, every time you hold your breath just to keep others comfortable, you send a message to yourself that your voice doesn't matter, but it does. Your needs are not inconveniences. Your dreams are not too much. Your presence is not a burden. The world has tried to convince you that being gentle makes you weak, but you've learned that it takes unimaginable strength to remain soft in a world that tried to harden you. Strength isn't the absence of emotion. It's the ability to face yourself honestly, to sit with your fears without letting them drive your life, to acknowledge your pain without letting it define you. That's what real courage looks like. It's in the quiet moments when you refuse to abandon yourself, when you choose healing over hiding, when you choose boundaries over burnout, when you choose self-respect over self-sabotage. Every one of those choices is a revolution, a declaration that you will no longer betray yourself just to be liked, understood, or accepted. There will be moments when your old self will try to return, when the habits that kept you hidden will beg you to come back, but you are not obligated to remain who you were just because it's familiar. Growth requires discomfort. It demands that you release the version of you that was built on fear, people-pleasing, and self-neglect. And yes, there will be loss. But what you lose is only what was never aligned with your truth. And what you gain is everything: peace that no one can take, confidence that doesn't crack under pressure, purpose that wakes you up in the morning with fire in your chest. This life is not about avoiding pain. It's about rising through it, transcending it, using it as the very thing that refines you. Because if it didn't break you, it built you. Every scar is proof that you kept going. Every moment of doubt you walked through is proof that something deeper in you refused to quit. That's the part of you the world can't touch, the part no failure can erase, the part no opinion can weaken. That's who you are. And once you connect with that, once you live from that, there is nothing and no one that can pull you back into the shadows. You were never meant to stay silent. You were meant to rise, to lead, to live as if your existence is a gift. Because it is. And you finally believe it. You've carried so much for so long. The pressure to prove, to perform, to be perfect in a world that constantly questions your worth. But you're starting to understand that your value was never up for debate. It was never something to earn. You were always enough, always worthy, always whole. The moment you stop seeking permission is the moment you reclaim your power. And when you stop apologizing for who you are, you begin to stand in a truth that nothing can shake. That truth is the foundation of your strength, not how loud you are, not how many people approve of you, but how deeply rooted you are in your own being. You're not behind. You're not late. You are right on time for the version of life that is ready for you now. The struggle wasn't a detour, it was preparation. Every rejection was redirection. Every delay was a lesson in patience, in persistence, in becoming. You didn't fail. You evolved, you grew, you outgrew what no longer aligned with who you were becoming. And now you're standing in a space that demands you honor that growth. It's no longer about potential. It's about embodiment. It's about becoming the version of yourself who doesn't shrink, doesn't beg, doesn't chase, but leads with quiet confidence and unshakable conviction. Let go of the guilt. Let go of the shame. Let go of the idea that you have to earn rest, love, or peace. You don't have to bleed for it. You don't have to burn yourself out to feel deserving. Your worth isn't measured by your productivity or your perfection. It's measured by how deeply you live in alignment with your truth. That means saying no when your soul says no. That means choosing what expands you over what impresses others. That means staying loyal to your healing, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one claps for it. Your path is sacred, not because it looks like anyone else's, but because it's yours. You're not here to replicate. You're here to create. You're not here to blend in. You're here to break patterns, shift energy, and raise the standard for what's possible. There is no external success that can replace the peace of living in full integrity with yourself. No amount of applause can substitute for the quiet power of self-respect. And when you reach that level of inner alignment, everything changes. You stop reacting. You start responding. You stop fearing endings. You start embracing beginnings. You stop running from discomfort. You begin to rise through it. Because you know now that the real enemy was never failure. It was forgetting who you are. And now that you've remembered, now that you've awakened, there's no going back. You've crossed a line within yourself. A line that separates who you were from who you were always meant to become. This is your arrival. This is your authority. This is the moment your life begins to move with you, not against you. And it all starts with the decision to trust your own power. You are not a prisoner of your past. You are not defined by the mistakes you made when you didn't yet know better. You are not the opinions of those who couldn't see your light. You are not the limitations someone else placed on your identity. You are something greater. You are the quiet force that kept going when everything told you to stop. You are the stillness that rose through chaos, the clarity that broke through noise, the voice that kept whispering, even when no one was listening. You are the fire that refused to go out, even when it was barely a flicker. You are the one who stayed, and that matters more than you know. The weight you've carried has built a kind of strength that cannot be bought, copied, or given. It's the kind of strength that only comes through choosing to rise when staying down would have been easier. It's forged in silence, grown in private, and recognized in moments when everything around you falls apart and you still move forward. That strength is yours. No one can take it. And the more you own it, the less the world outside can shake you. You don't need louder words. You need quieter confidence. You don't need permission. You need intention. You don't need to prove anything. You need to align deeply with the truth that already lives inside you. Stop waiting for someone to validate your becoming. You are not here to fit into someone else's narrative. You are here to rewrite your own. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too much. You are rising, shedding, breaking through. And each time you choose to love yourself in the process, each time you decide to keep moving through fear, Each time you silence the doubt and act anyway, you are changing your story from the inside out. The real shift happens not when the world finally sees your value, but when you do. That's the pivot. That's the spark. That's the revolution. You're not chasing a finish line. You're remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. You're stepping back into your wholeness, your vision, your strength. And with that awareness comes a deeper responsibility to protect your peace, to honor your journey, and to never again settle for less than what ignites your soul. No more waiting. No more shrinking. No more postponing your own power because others feel uncomfortable when you use it. If they are intimidated by your light, let them look away. Your focus is not to appease. Your focus is to become. This is not a rehearsal. This is your life, and it deserves your fullest presence, your boldest truth, and your most relentless belief in who you are becoming. You were not born to shrink to fit a mold that was never made for your soul. You were not built to live by default, to carry the weight of fear disguised as logic, or to wear the mask of perfection just to gain approval. You are here to stand rooted in truth, unshaken by noise, untouched by trends, and immune to the opinions that try to confine you. There is a calling within you that cannot be silenced by comfort. There is a vision in your heart that refuses to die, no matter how many times the world tries to bury it beneath doubt. That vision is your responsibility, that calling is your assignment, and no one else can walk the path that was carved for you alone. The world does not need more perfection. It needs more people who are brave enough to be real, more voices that rise without filters, more hearts that beat without fear, more souls that burn without apology. You are that soul, you are that voice, you are the storm that clears the silence. And every time you refuse to bow to fear, you train your mind to choose courage over comfort. Every time you move forward, even with shaky hands, you build a different identity, one based on self-respect, not self-doubt. And that identity becomes your armor. Not the kind that hides you, but the kind that frees you. It's easy to forget how powerful you are when you spend too much time absorbing the noise of others. When you constantly compare your beginning to someone else's middle, or your truth to their highlight reel, you lose sight of your own magic. But comparison is a lie. It distracts you from your lane, your timing, your voice. You don't need to be ahead. You need to be aligned. You don't need to impress. You need to express. The moment you stop chasing approval and start honoring your inner fire, you tap into a level of clarity that no outside validation can match. That clarity becomes your compass. That fire becomes your fuel. You've been waiting for a sign, but deep down you already know it's time. Time to let go of the excuses. Time to stop settling for a life that feels almost right. Time to break up with the fear of failure and step into the freedom of becoming. You don't need more motivation. You need commitment. You don't need another reason. You need decision. Everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of the resistance you've been tolerating. The only way to close that gap is to act, not perfectly, not later, now, with boldness, with faith, with the unshakable belief that you are ready, even if your mind says you're not, because deep down you are. And the moment you choose to trust that, you rise. Every time you doubt yourself, remember this. Hesitation has never built greatness. It only delays what you were born to create. That voice in your head that whispers you're not ready, that you're not enough, that you need more time. It's a lie designed to keep you small. And the more you entertain it, the more you reinforce the chains that were never meant to hold you. Growth begins where comfort ends. Power is born where fear is faced. You cannot become who you're meant to be by avoiding the very battles that are shaping your strength. Stop waiting for the fear to disappear. Move with it, use it. Let it sharpen your focus and stretch your willpower. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the refusal to be ruled by it. You are not meant to play small just to make others comfortable. You are not here to dim your fire so others don't feel the heat of your presence. Your potential threatens those who have given up on theirs, and your confidence will offend the ones still trapped in doubt. Let it. You are not created to fit in. You are created to wake up, to rise above the noise, to become a living standard of what's possible when a person decides they are no longer available for mediocrity. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your evolution. You don't need permission to grow. You are not responsible for shrinking yourself to fit their narrative. Your life is not a group project. It is a personal mission. Stay committed to it. Every second you hesitate is a second lost to someone else's agenda. Every moment you doubt yourself, you hand your power to circumstances that were never meant to define you. Your vision is not a suggestion. It's a command from your higher self. You didn't imagine that dream. You remembered it. It's not something outside of you. It's within you, pulling you toward alignment, demanding action, requiring sacrifice. and the cost of ignoring it is far greater than the cost of chasing it. You either surrender to your purpose, or you suffer in your potential. There is no in-between. This is the moment where you burn the bridge to your old self, where you stop negotiating with fear, where you delete the excuses and install discipline, where you trade your comfort zone for a growth zone. There's no map for this journey, no guarantees, but there is a reward, and it's not money or praise or applause. It's self-respect. It's the quiet knowing that you didn't run, that you showed up, that you bet on yourself when it would have been easier to play it safe, that you answered the call when everything inside you screamed to wait. This is how leaders are built. This is how change is born, not through inspiration, but through internal revolution, through the relentless decision to become undeniable. There is no breakthrough without breakdown, no transformation without disruption. If you want to change your life, you must first be willing to disturb everything that has kept you stuck. The old patterns, the familiar habits, the excuses disguised as logic, they must all go. Your next level demands a new version of you, one that refuses to be controlled by outdated beliefs and emotional patterns. You cannot evolve while clinging to what's comfortable. You cannot rise while anchored in fear. The moment you choose growth over safety, everything shifts. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger, clearer, more intentional. You stop moving through life on autopilot and begin to act with precision, like a warrior who knows exactly what they're fighting for. The most dangerous prison is the one you don't even realize you're in, and most people are locked inside walls built from self-doubt, indecision, and inherited fear. But freedom is always available. It begins the moment you challenge the thoughts you've blindly believed, the moment you stop reacting to life and start directing it, the moment you realize that discipline is not restriction, it is liberation. Because when you control your actions, you control your outcomes. When you control your emotions, you control your energy. And when you control your focus, you control your future. There will be moments where everything feels like it's falling apart. That's not the end. That's the unmaking of everything false. The tearing down of the fake identity, the borrowed dreams, the layers of insecurity. Let them collapse. Let what's not real burn to the ground, because only then can the truth rise from the ashes. That truth is your power. That truth is who you are without fear. It's who you are without apology. It's who you are when the noise fades and the world's expectations dissolve. And when you connect to that version of yourself, nothing can stop you. Not because the world changes, but because you stop needing it to. Power isn't something you chase. It's something you claim. And it begins with the decision to stop betraying yourself for comfort. It begins when you stop silencing your instincts, stop abandoning your standards, stop waiting for the right moment, and start becoming the right person. Your potential will not activate through waiting. It activates through action. It expands through tension. It grows through pressure. And the more you lean into it, the more unshakable you become. You are not here to survive. You are here to lead, to awaken, to disrupt, to build something no one else can because no one else is you. Stop asking for directions to a place you were born to create. Build it, brick by brick, choice by choice. You don't need motivation. You need decision. You don't need perfection. You need momentum. Let your life be the loudest statement. Let your discipline be louder than your doubt. Let your results speak for you. Let your evolution become your revolution. There is a version of you waiting on the other side of discomfort. A version that doesn't flinch at challenge, doesn't fold under pressure, and doesn't shrink to fit into places that were never meant to hold your greatness. But to reach that version, you must endure the friction between who you are and who you're becoming. Growth is not supposed to feel safe. It's meant to tear you away from everything that made you settle. It's meant to expose the lies you've told yourself to avoid pain. That pain is the cost of transformation. It's not here to punish you. It's here to forge you. Every moment of resistance is an invitation to rise. Every wave of fear is a signal to move. And every internal storm is clearing the way for a stronger foundation. No one will hand you the life you dream of. It must be built, piece by piece, with relentless commitment and an unwavering belief in your ability to overcome. You do not need permission to be powerful. You do not need validation to take up space. You need courage, not the absence of fear, but the audacity to act in spite of it. Every excuse is a chain. Every delay is a weight. Every justification is a thief stealing time from the future you're capable of creating. Cut them loose, free yourself. Stop explaining your hunger to people who are full. Stop adjusting your pace for people who were never meant to run with you. You are not too much. You are just in the wrong room. The real challenge is not what's in front of you. It's what lives inside you. The doubts, the wounds, the patterns trying to pull you backward. But nothing inside you is permanent unless you choose to keep feeding it. You can rewire your mind. You can recalibrate your standards. You can rebuild your identity brick by brick, day by day, action by action. Your past is not a life sentence. It's a lesson. And the moment you stop clinging to what hurt you, you start grabbing hold of what can heal you. That healing is found in discipline, in showing up when it's hard, in speaking truth when it's easier to stay silent, in refusing to abandon yourself when no one else is watching. You must become the kind of person who no longer negotiates with weakness, who no longer entertains the whispers of mediocrity, who no longer waits for conditions to be perfect before taking the first step. Because when your purpose is clear, distractions lose their power. When your identity is solid, failure becomes fuel. When your mind is locked in, doubt has no room to breathe. You are not here to blend in. You are here to break limits, rewrite rules, and redefine what's possible. It starts with the decision to no longer play small in a world that needs your full power. Stand tall, breathe deep, move forward. This is what reclaiming yourself looks like. This is what unstoppable feels like.